Hello and welcome to episode number 37 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're talking about how solo player board games are terrible.
Okay, he is... I disavow.
I'm meme-ing.
I disavow. So there are times, and this is one of those times, where I'm like, oh crap, what is Jim gonna say? So, okay, we are not talking about how solo tabletop gaming is terrible.
No.
I mean, we kind of are, but we don't think that. So today's episode is all about solo tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
Now, before we actually get into it, last week we talked about how Magic is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about something that I don't think I really mentioned. So, because we had talked about how SCG was discontinuing, they're like not doing strategy content. We'll link the video. But you can go check that out. Check out last week's podcast. But one thing that I was thinking about, maybe SCG is discontinuing all that content because maybe they're just not entertaining.
Huh.
We didn't really entertain that thought at all.
Yeah.
But that is a very real possibility. Am I wrong?
I've never seen the articles.
It could just be people aren't reading or watching their stuff because it's not good.
Yeah.
Like that is a thing that we didn't really touch on or talk about, and I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So
it's also probably just not making them the money that they were hoping for.
Well, right, so. but again, going back to the reason they're not making the money.
Yeah.
Like, is it really because Magic is changing all their stuff that they're doing, or is it just you guys aren't good?
Yeah.
that.
That's always a possibility.
That legit
right?
It could be a possibility. Like, I don't think it is, but it could be. You never know.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'd be remiss if I did not mention that. Okay, so to what we were talking about today, solo board gaming and solo tabletop gaming. I never really thought it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, like I really didn't. I mean, granted, I've been into tabletop gaming within the past 5-6 years or so.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it, but like for me, it was really like how I grew up and was conditioned almost. Mm-hmm. It was just not something that I thought about.
Yeah.
So the quote beginning of tabletop gaming, I think is like Solitaire. Like I looked up on Wikipedia, and it looked like the first recorded game of Solitaire was in 1788. So I mean solo, like playing a game on a table, and with Solitaire being a card game, it's not a new thing. It is not a new thing or a phenomenon, right? And I mean, Solitaire is still played today. Most people, I would assume, play it on their computer and not on a table. But have you ever played Solitaire with a 52 card deck, like a deck of 52 cards?
A few times.
Have you?
Yeah. I now forget like how exactly to set it up. But yeah, I've done it a few times.
Yeah, I've done it a couple times too. It's fun. I enjoy it. I like that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's different.
And most people like say whenever they bring up Solitaire, they say it like it's a bad thing. Like, oh, you're just playing Solitaire. I mean, okay. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Or Disney Villainous, you were playing Solitaire. So
yep. Or was it you were the one playing Solitaire? I don't even know who that was directed at, to be honest.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But again, we say that just to say, in my mind, from the research that I was looking into, it looked like the earliest known thing that I could find was Solitaire.
Yeah.
If you know of something that was earlier, let me know. Let us know, because I would be very interested to know. because I am curious to know, like, what other games?
When did Jax come out?
Jax. I mean,
I don't know.
Then you would go like, is Jax? Can you play Jax solo? I would assume so.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
So do you
would just be like, increasing your number of when the ball bounces to how many you can pick up.
But the thing is, can you win? Oh, so playing Jack solo would be like, you ever played, I have it with Bop It. Like trying to beat your best score type thing.
Exactly.
It's not like a win or lose type thing. It's here's your best score is 100. Can you beat your best score? You're playing against yourself almost. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. That's true. Yeah. What is it in The Witcher?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. The knuckle bones.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those games have had to have been around for a long time. So the concept of playing a physical game by yourself is not new. It's not new. So let's just get that out of the way. It is not a new thing. It's not. So Solitaire is not a bad thing. I've got this written down. Solitaire is not a bad thing. It is just either preferred or it's not, just like any game. So actually, I've got some things here about Solitaire. So the word Solitaire is French in origin. These games being, quote, regarded as an exercise in patience. And there's people also call Solitaire Patience.
Okay.
It's called Patience, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. I was also thinking mahjong, like those mahjong tiles.
Oh, yeah.
Now, and I did not look this up. I just thought of this now. But isn't mahjong, because you can play mahjong with actual tiles. Correct, or can you not? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure if mahjong is a strictly digital game.
I was gonna say, am I confusing mahjong with like kind of the it's like a version of chess or something? Or
I think you're confusing it with something.
Okay.
Yeah, because the mahjong.
Because the ones I'm thinking of, there's like it's essentially like a chessboard. You have your pretty much pawn set up, and then you have more tiles back behind it.
That's not mahjong. At least it's not the mahjong that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
I think there are actually, it does have, I think when you say mahjong, it can mean multiple things, I think. Let me just see if I can find something real
I do
quick.
also remember there is another little tiles game to where it's stacked in like a pyramid form.
That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, when I look up mahjong, it even says mahjong solitaire. So it's kind of like a version of solitaire. So okay, I mean that would make sense. So yeah, solitaire is not a bad thing. It is just either preferred or it's not, just like any game. And if you don't prefer it, that's fine. That is totally fine. But all that to say, solo gaming has been around for a long time. So that sub point there kind of goes into the next point here of
now I really want to look this up.
Of what you were thinking of.
Yeah, I'm really interested.
All right, so as you look that up, so solitaire, solo board gaming or tabletop games is, quote, different for many people, right? So different, like it's not something that you're used to. Again, I'll go back to myself. I never really thought playing playing board games by yourself was an actual thing. Again, and for me, it really was just how I was raised, how I grew up. The games that I played were like the Milton Bradley era of tabletop gaming, of board games.
I have no clue how to pronounce
I don't know how to pronounce that either. X. So it's
Z.
It's X. That's an X.
Yeah.
You're
trying to pronounce it.
Understood. XIANGQI. Zhangqi? Zhangqi? I'm not sure. I do not know. I can't. I don't know how to pronounce that. But that's what you were thinking of.
Yeah. It's a strategy board game for 2 players.
Okay, I've never seen that. I haven't seen that before. Have you? But you've played that game?
I haven't played it. I've seen like a bunch of years ago some people playing it.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it in a long time. And then there's also on some animes people will play it as well.
Understood. So. Okay, that makes sense for you. Okay, so and the reason I say this about my upbringing, and it's just not something I was used to. Like, different does not equate to bad or weird or whatever. It's just different, and that's fine. We always fear what we don't understand, right? If you don't understand something, you have a tendency to think less of it, and again, like kids, what kids will normally do is if it's different, they'll make fun of it, right? They'll poke fun, right? But as adults, I think adults still do the exact same thing. Like, it's different, so it's weird, right? No, it's just different.
Especially if their friends are doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. It's go along with the crowd, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, different does not equate to bad. It's just different, and I think just recognize that, right? Recognize that right there is just that it's different. There's a Medium article that I found, and there's this quote in there. So the name of the article is A Complete Beginner's Guide to Solo Board Games. They give some good recommendations in here for good solo games, but there's a quote in here that I like. It says, "But seriously, if you're not embedded in the board gaming scene, solo or solitaire board games may seem a little strange. And for most of modern board gaming's history, they kind of were. Well, maybe not strange, but they definitely weren't very prominent. Most board games rely on player interaction and require an opponent to play against, after all." And that's how a lot of people think about board games. Like, when you think about board games, you think, Jim, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a social game against each other. We're going to play against each other. You're going to be my opponent. And so it's like, well, if I don't have an opponent, how can I play this board game that's in front of me? And again, it's the mentality, which now in 2022, it is a flawed mentality.
Yeah.
Board games, the tabletop gaming industry has come a long way. And you have to give credit and props to all of these game designers. Like, there have been so many amazing games designed for that have a single player mode now. Actually, today, as we record this, February 7th, a game that I think I introduced you to. We've played it once. I got really salty. It's called Unfair.
Yeah.
There's a new expansion out today, and you should definitely go back. You go check it out on Kickstarter right now. But they have a new expansion out today, and in this expansion, they have a solo mode, which I'm excited for. Like, that's cool because now, hey, I can enjoy this game by myself if no one else is around.
Yeah.
Like, that is a great thing. But again, like, those things that it has to be designed, right? Now, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. But the next thing I have here, board games have typically required an opponent to play against. And even in modern solo games, there still needs to be an opponent. Like, you still need to play against someone.
Yeah, against something.
Because even solitaire, who are you playing against?
The deck of cards.
You're playing against the deck, right? And then in a lot of solo games, in some solo games, you're playing against yourself. Like, what we were talking about with Bop It and Jax, you're playing against yourself. I mean, did you ever play Bop It?
Yeah, I used to play it. But
So
it's been so long.
I actually have it sitting right over there. We were addicted to that when I was a kid, and I had the Bop It. Even now, there's you sip it and you golf it or whatever. You can do so many. They have so many different weird things that are on. Again, they're weird, right? But so many different things now. Like the one that I had when I was a kid, I think there were 5 things you could do on it. I think now the one, it's there's 20 or something. It's crazy.
Wow.
Like, it's Sip It.
Say the original one was 3.
The original one was 3.
Okay.
Bop It, Pull It, Twisted, I think.
Twisted, yeah.
I think those are the original 3.
And then I remember they came out with the 5 one, where it was like a spin.
There was a spin
wheel,
and a flick.
And a flick, okay.
Spin and a flick were the additional 2.
Yeah.
And then I don't even know the one that... I think I bought the one now because I'm like, oh man, I remember this. This is awesome.
There was also that circle where the lights would light up in the different colors.
Simon Says.
Is that the one?
Yeah,
I don't
Simon
know.
Says.
Yeah, it was like red, green, blue, and yellow.
Yeah, and that was, you were playing That again, you're playing against yourself to see how many times, like how far you could go, basically with it. So I remember Simon Says. I remember that game. That game was fun. That was like testing your memory, kind of.
Skip it or
Skip.
a hop it.
Oh yes,
a hop it there.
Yes. There's so many blank its.
Yeah. Now that we're going down the line, we're like, oh, there was this one and this one and this one.
Yep. Yeah, I am not ashamed to admit I did skip it.
Yeah.
It
I wasn't good.
Hop It?
I think it was Hop It.
I think it was Hop It is what it was.
Or that was the brand or something.
I don't remember. I mean, I just remember I remember the thing that you put it around your foot.
Yeah.
You put it around your foot and then you just kept jumping. But like it had to stay on the ground because the way it tracked it was it rolled the way it rolled on the ground. Yeah, that was, man, we're taking it back, man. We're taking it back. All right. So the next thing I have here, so just because you don't, quote, understand or get it, doesn't mean other people have the same opinion you do. Other people most likely enjoy something that you don't. Chill. And so the reason I threw that in there...
Well, they're wrong, Dan.
Well, the reason I threw that in there was, okay, I'm a part of like a bunch of board game groups like on Facebook. And for good reason. Most of them are pretty good. But I've seen this post a lot. I've seen it, and mostly it's from the older generation. Because again, and then if you think about it from what we're talking about is, I think, even though I did say that we've talked about that solitaire, right? Solo gaming has been around for a while.
Yeah.
It hasn't been like super prominent. Like solo board gaming, I feel, has been a relatively recent phenomena. You know what I mean? Like it has gained a lot of steam and popularity over the recent years. And it's well deserved. Do not get me wrong. But it wasn't something that was extremely popular.
Yeah.
It wasn't popular, and it wasn't something that was very well known either, right? So I've seen a lot of these posts, and like I said, the reason I've seen them is mostly been from the older crowd of, I don't get solo gaming. Like, can someone explain to me the appeal to solo gaming? And you know, when you see the same thing over and over and over again, like it can get old. It can get old and inundated, and there are plenty of people who have that feeling of, seriously, like, really. So you don't I don't know the intent of someone posting it. Maybe they're genuine and maybe they're sincere. And I try to view a lot of those things from that lens of someone is being legitimately sincere and they want to learn. Like, hey, I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? Like, or from the standpoint of, hey, I don't get this. I don't enjoy this, but you do. What is the draw for you? And I think that's actually beneficial for a designer. Like what is the draw for you? That way I can know that from a design perspective, and like, what aspects do you enjoy? That way I can design a game around something that you enjoy, something that you like. Yeah. But so again, I say this. There's a good video that Jason Perez put out. I believe his YouTube channel, Shelf Stories, and I think he's put out a couple of videos talking about solo gaming. He's a big solo gamer, and basically kind of highlighting, like, kind of giving a couple of points. It's like a point by point of, here's why we like it. Also, I see these posts and stop making these posts. But for me, like, a lot of the times I approach a lot of those things from the standpoint of, it's the internet. People are going to be the way they're going to be. And I think people can be dumb sometimes. And, you know, it is what it is.
A lot of the time.
I try not to let a lot of what you said I think is whatever. I try not to think like that or let it get to me. I think plenty of us still do, and I mean, even I still do sometimes too. But from those situations, I try to approach them from, hey, this is something I don't get or I don't understand. Can you legitimately explain to me like why you don't enjoy something? So he put a good video out. I will link it in the description. I'll link it up here too in the card, so you guys can check that out as well. I definitely recommend checking it out. And I showed Jim, and I'm like, I agree with like everything that he said in this video.
Yeah, watching it, I was like, I don't see how he's wrong here.
He's not wrong.
I'm like, this sounds pretty correct. So
one thing he said, because there's one point that people bring up, and again, I see it in the older generation of folks who bring this up, is like the Milton Bradley era of gaming, like, and because what they say is, well, board games were meant to be social. Again, I don't think you can say that. You can't speak for every single game, because you have to go back to who was the designer. Okay, Mr. Designer, what was your intent behind making this game? Why did you make this game? Did you intend for it to be social? Did you intend to bring 4 or 5 people around a table and play it together? Or did you intend to have 1 or 2 people play this alone and then like compare scores at the end? Like, just because your experience in board gaming has been, it's been a fun time around the table, like that, cool, that's great. But that does not mean that every game that's out there it was designed and intended to be played in that way.
Yeah. The only thing is, like, if they're talking generally speaking, then over 51% of board games are more social than not.
I don't know. But again, I think even if we look at it from that standpoint, I think you then have to ask, it does go back to the design. Like, how was this board game designed, and what was the designer's intent? Like, I honestly, I think that's how you have to approach that. Like, if you're even going to speak from a general standpoint, you then have to go back to, well, how is it designed? And it's not like that's a hard thing to figure out either. Like, you can tell by playing a game, number one, and even if you're not playing it, you can just read the rulebook and figure out, hey, how is it designed to be played? But the thing is, nowadays, there are so many games out there, I don't think you can get a really good sense of, with the amount of games out there, how many were designed to be played in a certain way, like socially or not, or whatever. That's a hard thing. I'm going to say it's a hard thing to quantify, but it's really not a hard thing to quantify, because it's very possible to do. It's just there's a ton. The sample size is humongous. It is a humongous sample size. So many. That's the thing. And like, that's a great thing. That is a fantastic thing. But it then becomes very hard to speak in general terms, because tabletop gaming is so diverse and huge now. It is.
Even if like the company hasn't come out and officially made something like single player, there's people online that are like, this is how you can play this game single player as well.
And even games that weren't designed single player. Yeah. There's plenty of like custom mods that people will take a game and say, okay, here's how this game was designed, but like I have these limitations, so I designed a thing that could be added to this game. So one thing I have written down here, again, board games are primarily social? ? Disagree. All really comes down to how the game was designed. And I mean, So going off of that, I mean, am I missing something, or like do you have any other thoughts about when it comes to that, like board games are primarily social? Do you have anything else that like, cause like I'm trying to think through, like I can understand, I can't understand how someone would come to that conclusion, right? By saying board games are primarily social, or designed to be social, because someone is basing it off of their own experience. Like I can get that. Like I can understand that. But I'm again, when I think through a problem, like I try and think about the many different iterations or the ways of that you can think through it. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I really think it really comes down to how it was designed. But again, like I said, I can understand how someone can come to that conclusion.
I'm like, how they come to the conclusion? Back of the box, front of the box, 2 to 5 players. Don't see 1 to 5. All right, it's not a solo player game, although they could still have solo player rules.
Right. So what if it says 1 to 6 players?
1 to 6. It's meant for both.
Yeah.
Splits the vote.
Yeah, like when you see that, like 1 to 5 players, okay. Yeah. Because I'm curious, like how I'd have to ask a designer. Mm-hmm. Like when you design a game, do you normally start at, and again, it probably varies from designer to designer, but do you start with a certain number of players in mind? Like card games, right? Competitive card games. I would assume you're normally it's 1v1, right? Opponent on opponent, like Magic.
Yeah.
Probably designed from a 1v1 perspective. Most competitive card games are probably designed for 1v1 play. Commander, again, was taken from Magic, and the whole reason Commander started was there was a group of judges, and they all had their original Elder Dragons and wanted to play Magic in between matches. And so they basically came up with this thing on the fly, and boom, here comes Commander. And now it is like the most popular format in all of Magic the Gathering.
That's a shame.
But again, that was born out of
yeah.
We've got downtime. Here's this game that we like, but there's more of us. How can we figure out a different way to play this and get more people involved?
And like,
they did.
Even aside from that, so like Magic or all these card games were meant to, or pretty much designed to be social, playing with more than one person. Except then you can also do it of like, oh, I'm used to playing a combo deck. Or I'm trying to learn this deck, learn how these cards work. Yeah. Then you can just goldfish, set. Okay.
I was going to say, explain goldfish for people.
So for Magic,
it took me a minute to understand this.
So for Magic, you're pretty much just playing against an invisible opponent. There's no one there. You just shuffle up your cards, draw your starting hand. If you don't like that, mulligan. Still paying attention to the same rules. Then it's just playing against yourself, going through the motions of playing the land, tapping the land, playing the cards, really memorizing how the cards work. Yeah. And if there's combos in it, it'll be like Doom Orb, or is it Doom Orb? Doomsday? What's the one where you blow up your entire deck except for 5 cards?
Oh, I don't know.
I forget. Sure. It's a black card. I forget what it's called. And
we think it's Doom Orb.
I want to say Doomsday.
Doomsday is
Doom Orb. I don't remember. Isn't one of them? It's like where you drop the card from like 5 or 2 feet.
Oh, here it is. It's Doomsday. 3 black. Search your library and graveyard for 5 cards and exile the rest. Yeah. Put the chosen cards on top of your library in any order.
So you now have 5 card deck.
Oh yeah. You have a 5 card deck. You lose half your life rounded up.
Yeah. So
that was a mythic.
Yeah. So
it was 3.
So this is a part of a combo setup that then allows you to, the next card you would then get, right, would be like a draw spell. And then you would draw the next cards from your deck until you got your exact win con.
Right. If you have a certain win con.
Yeah, exactly. Or same thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's draw your 5 cards, play 1 card that allows you to then go search for another card, and then you can special summon something from the extra deck, and then you get value on top of value.
Starting to understand Yu-Gi-Oh! a little bit more now.
One day, Dan. One day. So you're just able to play against yourself, but it's more so just going through the motions and really memorizing what the cards do and how they interact with each other.
Yeah. So going off of the whole Facebook comment thing, one thing that I've heard people say, and again this comes normally from the older generation, again, which is fine, but they'll say, you want to play games solo? Just go play a video game.
All right.
I mean, okay. But like, why?
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to just like cut people out of this hobby? I mean,
gatekeeping.
Yeah.
All day?
Gatekeeping is a thing, and it's annoying. Please don't do it. But again, I can't control what people do, what people say. They're gonna say things that I think are dumb. but to me, like the whole gatekeeping thing, I didn't even intend for this to get into the topic of gatekeeping, but why would you want to gatekeep? Like, if we're talking about a hobby that, again, by your own definition, is something that is primarily social in nature, you need to have more people playing the game with you because you're saying it's more social, and you're then saying, no, we don't want you to play because I don't know why. That doesn't compute to me. You're saying this hobby space.
Are you a real gamer because you play only solo player board games?
It doesn't. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, again, people are gonna say dumb things.
Some people
whatever.
probably just do it just to be like, oh, well, you haven't done exactly the same things I've done, so they're like flexing a little bit. Yeah. Weird flex, bro.
Weird flex. Okay, so but the whole video game thing, I wanted to, because Jim and I have differing personal histories here.
Yeah.
So with video games, like my personal history, I've got this thing here. I grew up on more video games than board games. Like I mentioned before, when I thought about board games growing up, it was that we're going to sit around the table together as a family and play Monopoly, play Life, whatever the case may be, that Milton Bradley era of family board gaming type thing. That was kind of how I grew up on board games or tabletop gaming. Excuse me. For video games, like I grew up on Sonic, Mario, single player games. Mm-hmm. Like couch co-op was a thing, but when I was growing up, the couch co-op, and when I say couch co-op, what I mean is two or more people are sitting on the couch with the TV in front of them playing this video game cooperatively together. Mm. So growing up with a Sega, Nintendo, you couldn't play online, right? So if you wanted to both play the same game, like Mario Kart, for instance, the screen would be split. So player 1 would be on the left, player 2 would be on the right, for instance, mm-hmm. right? So that is
or top and bottom, however it's
right.
set up.
That's split screen co-op, right? Mm-hmm. So that was how I grew up on video games. I played the video games I played were solo in nature, like I said, Sonic and Mario. That was how I grew up on video games, and that was kind of and I enjoyed that. I really liked playing, and I still love playing single-player video games. Mm-hmm. But now with the rise of multiplayer gaming is taking video gaming to a whole different level. But that was my experience growing up. Jim, yours is a little different, right?
A little, well, kind of.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. So, like, I also started with Sega, PlayStation, and then N64 was my big Nintendo one. Yes. And that is like you tend to play 4 players on a N64, depending on the game. Super Mario.
But most of them were like that 4-player experience.
Like Mario Party, the Mario Kart, GoldenEye. There's so many out there.
But just GoldenEye, because GoldenEye was awesome.
Yeah. And so I was, and I grew up also playing sport games with my dad as well. Mm-hmm. So it was always, I had another person there always playing a co-op game with me. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward to PlayStation 2, that's when I was playing solo player games. Mm-hmm. So from like 2000 to 2005 was really just single player. And then it got to Xbox 360 and nothing but online games since then.
Yeah, so the rise of the internet and online gaming.
Call of Duty at that point. Yeah. And just whatever stuff from there. And then I got into MMORPGs, massive multiplayer online games, and that took over my life, and I still play these games today.
Yeah. So I say that to then say you look at kids nowadays who their experience is completely different because they're growing up in this new era of when they think of a video game, it's probably a multiplayer experience like Fortnite or
probably Fortnite.
Yeah, or Apex Legends or something like that, to where they're not playing it by themselves, they're playing with friends. Mm-hmm. So again, all of this entire conversation honestly comes back to what's your reference. Yeah. Like what's your experience and what's your reference point? Because it's not going to be the same. I mean, Jim and I have like our reference points are similar, but our experiences are still different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you want to play a solo game, go play a video game. I mean, that doesn't make sense anymore. Like it doesn't. It's
at some point they're gonna be like, oh, what do you mean you play solo video games? Get some friends, loser.
And there's probably people who say that now too. Like
probably.
Yeah.
There's probably someone out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Heck this page. Get out of my face.
Get out of my face. All right, on to the next page.
All right. Board games were always played. Always, Dan.
For me, it really was because the only time I remember playing any of the games was we all got around the table together and played like that. And again, that was my experience growing up. And I enjoyed those nights. Those were fun. Even though we probably got into some kind of fight.
Worth it. Memories, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. So the next thing I've got here. So solo board gaming is immensely popular now.
Yeah.
It is. So I have, let me pull up this one. Yeah. So there's this article from WeGotThisCover.com. And again, this is just one person's list. I'll link it in the description, but these are the best solo board games. So they have Gloomhaven.
I knew it was on there.
Which I didn't know Gloomhaven had a solo mode.
So kind of.
Okay.
What it really is, so normally you'd have like 3-4 players, whatever it is. And for the solo mode, it's just that one person is controlling 3 or 4 characters.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's really all it is.
But again, you can experience the story by yourself.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the big draws for solo gaming is you don't have to have anyone else with you. Like, and some people that's out of necessity. Some people that it doesn't make them happy, but like that's the reality. And like honestly, like loneliness is a thing.
Yeah.
Like it is. And the more things that someone can have to do when they're alone is better than less.
Yeah.
So if they can experience this awesome hobby as a solo gamer, I mean that's awesome. Like I think that is just one of the greatest things ever. So we have Mage Knight.
Oh, before we go,
sure.
I think, or I'm wondering how much of the single player aspect of Gloomhaven causes it to be the #1 game in BGG.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think what you're asking is, I don't know. I don't think people are rating Gloomhaven as a high rank because of its solo mode.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm more so just wondering if someone's like, well, yeah, like compared to the second place game, it's great with friends, but
I play Gloomhaven because of the solo mode.
Maybe it gets that 0.25%.
Now, like if you're
score.
if people do that, like if people play Gloomhaven because of the solo mode, like that's like I'm not taking anything away from you. I've never played Gloomhaven yet. I still haven't played it. But I would assume that people don't play Gloomhaven because of the solo mode. I would assume that Gloomhaven having a solo mode is like an added bonus type thing. I don't know. Again, I'm guessing here. Okay, so we have Mage Knight, which is a game that I've heard good things about. I do want to play.
That box is ginormous.
It is. I've seen that. Yeah. A Feast for Odin, which shout out to Kelly. What did she sent something? She had to vote on a game, and I think she picked Feast for Odin or something.
And then I trolled her.
Kelly. You're awesome.
She was like, vote for this game.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's right.
Game's terrible.
That's right. She asked us to vote for something.
Joking.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, she asked us to vote for something. That's what it was. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Terraforming Mars, which that's right. I forgot Terraforming Mars had a solo mode. Scythe. That's a Stonemaier game.
I want to play all these games on here already.
I know, right? Scythe. Rurik, Dawn of Kiev.
Rurik.
Okay. Arkham Horror, the card game.
Yes.
And we'll talk about those in a minute. Black Sonata.
Sonata. I've never heard of that.
Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden.
That sounds great.
look
I wanna
at
play
this.
that one, too.
But look at this. Look at this. Like, there's Mr. Cabbagehead.
Are we going to put that up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm going to
All right,
put
we're
that
gonna
up
put
on
that
the
up on the
screen. Yeah,
screen.
we'll put that up on the screen. Okay, we just think it looks funny. That's all. That's all. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
That's
if your
on
name
point.
is Mr. Cabbagehead, that is how you would look. If your name is Mr. Cabbagehead, 100% that's how you would look. Dude, the
kinda
art,
looks
look
like-
at this. Look at this. That art just looks awesome.
Honestly, he
it
kinda
looks
looks
like
like-
Norman Rockwell art almost a little bit.
He kind of looks like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah, he does.
He does.
He does a little bit, yeah. Oh, that's funny. Lord of the Rings, the card game. And then that's the end of the list.
Okay.
So Arkham Horror, the card game, and Lord of the Rings, the card game, are fantastic expandable card games, living card games that we've played on the channel before and love. I haven't played Arkham yet, but we're going to.
Oh, yeah, we have.
But that is one of the huge draws of those games is you can play them solo.
Mm-hmm.
And again, being card game players, I just think that is awesome.
Yeah.
Is that I can experience these awesome card games alone. And again, whether or not you prefer to play it alone or you prefer to play it with somebody else, I mean, that's to each their own. That's fine. And the thing is with a lot of these card games is you can play solo, two-handed solo, so it's like there's two players, but each player has, their own deck.
Yeah.
Or you can play true solo, and these games have true solo mode. Arkham and Lord of the Rings. I'm throwing in Marvel Champions because that's not on the list. It wasn't on that list. But yeah, Marvel Champions is on that list as well as a fantastic expandable / living card game that you can play alone. That was, for me, when I initially got into the hobby, when I found these games in specifically, Marvel Champions, Arkham Horror, and Lord of the Rings, like, you can play these solo, huh? And I look into it and I'm like, oh, that is so cool, because at the time, like, I wasn't going to a game store. I didn't have an LGS that I was going to or a part of. I didn't have a community that I was a part of. And so maybe you're in a rural part of the country to where your closest LGS is 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
And like, you can only get there once a month. Well, I don't want to. I want to play these games more than once a month,
more than
right?
that.
Like, so the fact
They're grouping up every Tuesday and Thursday, and I can't be there.
Yeah, it's you have that access to play these games whenever you want, essentially, right? And so that is not a bad thing. That is a great thing. Great thing. Okay, even talking more about card games, the deck building games, Marvel Legendary, DC deck building game. Those are the two big ones that I have here, because they're the ones that we have the most experience with and we enjoy. But there's a lot of other deck building games that you can play solo. I feel card games are easier to design solo than non-card games. Like anything to where it's just the cards, right? It's a little easier. And again, speaking with all the experience that I have as a designer, right? Yeah, 0. That's just how I think. And again, I could be wrong. I would love to speak to a designer and they tell me, dude, designing card games is one of the hardest things ever. I would be so interested to know that. And then I have so many questions then. Because that would mean, well, I have so much respect for people who design card games because it's what I love.
We're going to make
already.
our own card game one day.
No, we're not.
All right.
I would love to. It'd be cool. But I don't think I'm that smart.
One day, down the line.
I don't think I'm that smart, honestly.
Yeah, down the line.
Okay, and then also, so Stonemaier games, a lot of the Stonemaier games can be played solo. So when I got Wingspan, like I knew what Wingspan is, right? And that was why I bought it. But I didn't know you could play it solo. And so when I got it, I was reading it, and a lot of Stonemaier games, they have these Automa. It's basically the built-in AI for the game. And like you've got sheets, or they give you instructions on like, here's how to set up the Automa deck or whatever, and then you play through, here's what the AI in the deck is going to do. How this is how the AI is going to operate. And it gives you basically your win conditions on whether or not you're going to win or you lose. And so I think that was like the first tabletop game that I pulled it out and I started reading it. And then I discovered, oh, you can play this solo. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I found out that you could play all these games solo, my mind was blown. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, I mean, I think solo gaming is great. There's this other article on Dicebreaker entitled "Going Solo: How Playing Tabletop Games Alone Went from Sad to Rad." I will link this in the description as well. They talk a little bit about D&D in here. Now, you would know. Can you play D&D by yourself?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah. A bit. It's just
explain.
I mean, I guess you could set it up. So really what the game comes down to is, rolling the dice.
Yeah.
So you can just set it up to where the opponent or the enemy, the monster, whatever it is, could be doing basic attacks against you, and you're just trying to sustain yourself, or you're playing with more than one character. You could also set it up to where if I roll this on a monster's attack, he'll use this attack rather than this attack, things along those lines.
Yeah.
So you can definitely play D&D solo. You just got to get pretty creative.
So you
already have to be creative for D&D.
Well, right, because you're crafting your own story then, right?
Yeah. It's more combat oriented rather than, I'm going to tell myself this story to go through and I just know how to get around everything.
Right.
So it's not a whole lot of RP based, more so combat.
Yeah. That's interesting because again, I've played D&D that one time with that one shot and it was fun. But I didn't know it was actually possible. So I mean, and that's honestly what we're talking about is the possibilities that solo gaming provides. So, solo board gaming is extremely important to the hobby and can only bring more people into it than would otherwise be unable to, and that is a good thing.
Yeah,
and. Change my mind.
Can't change my mind. I mean, solo board games are terrible, like I said at the start, right?
But like, here's the thing: like, if you think that's a bad thing, like, do you think that's a bad thing? Like, that would be where I would start. Is do you think having more people play board games is a bad thing? I mean, you know what? Honestly, too, like, it could have something to do with jealousy. Like, I enjoy this thing and I don't want anyone else to enjoy it. I mean, again,
the only thing I can also,
I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is like, if a game is specifically a single player game, then those people could just be mad that whoever created it didn't include them. Or that they wasted that creative talent for not coming out with a game that they could play with more than one person. That's all I got, Dan.
I don't even get it. I think I'm lost.
Okay.
Can you try again? I don't even are you being serious or were you memeing?
No, I mean, that's literally the only, I'm like joking, but it's also like, that's really the only thing I can come up with.
And seriously, like that... it's so illogical to me that, again, you don't understand something. Okay, that's totally fine. I get it. And if you don't want to understand, okay, that's fine too. And I know there are people out there who they like it a certain way and they don't want it any other way. And that's that. Oh, okay, that's fine. But also, it's not my job to explain things to you. Like, and again, it's not like I try to seek to understand. That is normally my step one, is if I don't get it, I will first seek to understand. So for me, that is step one. And I think more people need to do that, is they need to seek to understand. Like, that should be the default. The default shouldn't be, well, I don't get it, so it's dumb or it's weird.
Yeah. Stop having fun is really what it comes down to.
I mean, the thing with board gaming is and we've said it before. It's humongous.
Yeah.
Like the hobby space is so big. I mean, when we went to Gen Con, there were so many people, but there were so many different types of games. That I mean, there was minis. There's painting miniatures, there's wargaming, there's card games, there's straight board games. I mean, there's so many different types of things that were there that there's going to be a lot of different people that have differing opinions and have different things that tickles their fancy that you don't agree with, it's not even you don't agree with, it's just not something you enjoy. Like, that's fine. That is okay. With a hobby or a space this big, you can't expect to like everything that's there. And that's fine. Just accept it. Accept it. You don't have to. Like, you don't have to like everything. You know, there's bound to be things that are going on that you just aren't into. That's fine. But I think the more people that get into the space, the better. But the other thing is too, more people equates to more money. More money equates to more games being designed.
Corruption.
Well, that too. But depending on what we're talking about, yeah, that could be true. Yes.
Oh, right, my bad. Board games.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it like again. Let's take it back to Magic, right? The more people that play Magic, the more sets that are going to come out, the more cards that are going to come out. It's just there's more content, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
But the less people that play it, the less money is flowing, the less content you're going to get because they don't have the money to pay people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like logically, like honestly, think about it logically too. More people is not a bad thing. It is a good thing from a business perspective. So I don't know, man. That's all I got. Like, I'm going to link all of the articles that we've mentioned, the video, Jason Perez's video. Definitely go check that out. I would like to have Jason on the show one day and honestly get his thoughts. Because like I said, I agree with him on basically everything that he said. You're always going to get those people who are like, change my mind. No. I don't have to.
I don't think I will.
Don't think I will. So yeah, I would really like to get him on and just honestly just talk about solo game because again, I didn't know it was a thing. Did not know it was a thing. Was pleasantly surprised when I found out, it is an actual thing. That is awesome. So yeah, that's all we got for this week, Jimbo, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
You can find me on Instagram at daniel.g.campbell and Twitter at _DGCampbell. You can find Hobbies and Happiness on just about every social platform, hobbies.n.happiness. Twitter, we're Hobbies and N Happy. Twitch is Hobbies and N Happiness. Well, we've got everything linked in the descriptions, but we're hoping to get to streaming some point soon. So definitely check us out on Twitch. Check Jim out on Twitch as well. And that's all we got for this week. Next week, don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be fun. Jim, thanks again for being here. It was fun.
It was a good day.
Enjoyed this conversation a lot. And everybody, thanks for being here, and we will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.